know it's been a long time since I left you, but nevertheless, good news. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, 30 years or more of observation, playing in my mind, not knowing it would come to this. Here's what I'm in the process of building. That's why I was gone for a minute. So, orgone accumulator. For those who don't know what that looks like, it's a box, metal plates, Wilhelm Reich original orgone energy, stainless steel, sheep's wool, stainless steel, sheep's wool, stainless steel, sheep's wool. Accelerates electromagnetic life force, which Wilhelm Reich called orgone, and you put something in the center, like people sit in those boxes, healing effects, different modalities. So that's what I observed first. Orgone accumulator. I, as a child, always loved closed spaces, like a sarcophagus. It's a sense of safety and travel. Why? Don't ask me. It has nothing to do with death. It must have been with the download protocols that I have within me. So, orgone accumulator. Then I looked at mirrored. So this is deep, and nobody has attempted to do this, and I'm actually doing it. Mirrored room. Russians have found out when you have an object between two mirrors, you will basically be reflected back to yourself to an infinite fractal. So when you look into the mirrors, you know, sometimes when you do camera to camera, you see the infinite, because you're tapping into the zero field, into the infinite. That does not directly translate into motor and machinery. Zero field at first translates into zero field consciousness. It's about consciousness, and some of those modules that we will build in the future, and I am building now, work with consciousness as the catalytic element, as in to turn on a system to download higher aspects of consciousness without having to forget that. So, mirrored rooms. Then the Russians went further. Cozy ref mirror. Oops. Handwriting. Sucky ducky. But I'm dyslexic, I make mistakes, bear with me. Get into the information that I'm relaying to you. That's all I'm saying, because right now I'm running. So Kozyrev mirror. So with the Kozyrev mirror, it gets fantastic. All of these aspects that I show you have a function. Nobody has ever combined them. Kozyrev mirror is basically an aluminum tube. You put a human being in there, and Kozyrev had the theory. I'm feeling it to be true. I've tested different devices in the land, and people have here, all the Lego blocks. Nobody did a compendium and put it together, or an infusion. So the Kozyrev mirror takes you out of the time-space continuum with consciousness. What happens, what they have found out, is that your psyche goes up 400%. So they did telepathy, empathy tests with people 100 miles across the land in Russia. Must have been in the 50s. One is in the pipe over there, the other one is in the pipe over here, and they're transmitting. And I'm going, They have transcripts, papers, documents that you can read online that all have proven that over and over these experiments worked. That's that. Now number 4. I looked at a magnetic bed. Mind you, you have to know what you're doing, otherwise it won't work. It goes further. Magnet bed is, if you have magnets with a certain Gauss level, let's say, you know, our Gauss level right now, Earth is at 0.4 Gauss. That's the strength of the magnetic influx, okay? Measured by Dr. Gauss. Get a Gauss meter on your app, check your room. If the Gauss goes up or you have magnetic anomalies, might be electromagnetic interference or warp zones or whatever. But that's a whole other topic. Let's stay here. So magnetic bed. Then number 5, the King's Chamber. So what is so significant about the King's Chamber? It's in a pyramid. It seals you from the time-space spectrum. It has magnetic alignment. It has a high accumulation of negative ions and photons. I've been in Egypt. I was in the King's Chamber. I felt it. You can go with an ion meter in the chamber, a little pocket deal, turn it on, see how this goes into the billions. 6, Niagara Falls. Probably spelling that wrong. Niagara Falls. Highly photonic, highly negatively ionically charged, magnetic anomalies as an alignment off the chart. Then I looked at a place in Kauai, Kalalau. Also, what is to be observed? Photons. I'm dealing with photons. Kalalau. And then what is this? Yeah, and my favorite place on the planet. Sedona, the place with the highest magnetic anomalies in the world. I say alignment, increasing the magnetic levels. So take notes here. All of these things I'm combining. 8 things that I have observed, all gone accumulator. Wasn't doing the job for me, wasn't 100%, was inconclusive, you know. I still wait for fantastic reports and I can't find it online. Mirrored room is in the past. They're not testing that. Rejuvenating aspects, making the rooms hexagonal, triangular, cube. Kozrev mirror, phenomenal studies over and over to this day, still in use, but there's still things that they have not put in the thing to bring all of that what the ancients that built the pyramids. And to clear that once and for all, when the folklore of the Arabic storytellers, the ancient Arabic folklore says the pyramids were built before the Great Flood. I don't care what mainstream science says, it's all a fairy tale. I truly believe if you go into the folklore, into the myth, instead of the religion, and more of into the esoteric aspect of religion and folklore, you find actually truth. There was a storyline of natives, I'm not sure if it was the Koki, correct me if I'm wrong, they were singing a song of a mountain range. And the song was studied. They looked at where the mountain range was according to the song, the miles or the distance described. So we could actually trace that and track it. And the mountain range is gone. We found out that that mountain range that these natives were singing from past the Amazon disappeared 60 million years ago. So we need to readjust our little cerebellum and think outside of the box. This is what I'm allowing myself to do. So now, I've been, in which is number 9, and this is what I'm actually building in what I call the Ascension chamber. There's only one of that kind in the world. I have the knowledge given to me and trust by the original builders, shared with me. So this is part of my components that I'm putting together. So I didn't invent None of those things. I look at what works. And then I look at, that's what a master builder does. Actually, that's what a Freemason is trying to be, in my opinion. Knowing galactically through your starseed downloads and the observation, in what order does that come together, and how do you put it together, and what's needed. So the Ascension chamber is the essential actually key to all of those things here. What is the photonic charger? That's where my borosilicate gets charged with photonic action. The frequency begins 10 to the 15th. I'm not giving you the exact frequency. And it can, to up, there's no limit, depending on how much shooters we build. So in that chamber, we realize stuff doesn't rot, stuff mummifies, consciousness is activated, ionic stuff goes over your skin. But not only that, make that chamber reflective so the photons cannot escape. It gets very psychedelic without the substance. It gets very trippy. The brain begins to tune in, and then you also find out how long does the brain, the pineal gland, needs to find out that the environment is safe before it can open up and release DMT. See, the reason why you don't do that in regular life, because in the cities it's not safe. There's too much interference, too much psychic turbulence going on, as James Gilliland said that. So I'll break it down into something, and it will be phenomenal, because I've tested the individual devices. I mean, we know from Sedona people come here for healing. Highly ionic, highly, like negative ions are in its nature here. There's crystalline in the rock. The rock has this crystalline glow. When you do the hikes, when you come here, you see it's miraculously glitterado going on. It's because of the silica that's in the quartz, that's in the rock. The rock is red. That's the iron oxide. Now you put iron oxide and crystals together, you have an organic, super photonic, photomag, Atlantean super memory membrane running that reflects and refracts the timelines that will actually fix you. So if you stay in nature, they also found out, if you stay in nature for more than 3 weeks, you begin to go into repair mode, you get smarter, things come back. Well, we want that resonance, all that resonance of all of these devices in one device. Hopefully I'll get that so you can actually see it. So now I'm going to tell you what I'm not attempting, what I'm actually building. And I leaned out so far with my stuff, not even a funding campaign running, doing it all by myself. That's why this almost took 10 years to put together, but I got it now. So here's what we do, and then I will tell you actually what that does. To a degree, I will put it up for demonstration for, individuals to test it. So I will draw up what's going on, and then I'll let you actually, see how this works. Let me adjust the camera there a little bit. So we have a little bit more going on. So I looked at how do I get this time field corrected, and then I found something real simple, but you have to really find that out. So what I got now is an hexagonal sarcophagus type device. So what this does is, it's a tanning booth. Yeah, it's a tanning bed. But what I'll do, and I'll show that in the film later on, is I want you to be in here. Yeah, laying there. Just roughly, this is you. So you know, human body. And what I'll do with this is, you have to explain to the magnetic level. Here's what science has done, and I'm replicating that, is not only to know paramagnetic metals aligned with the natural occurring magnetic of Earth. You are paramagnetic. Your body is that. So when the magnetics are out of alignment, but guess what? You're out of alignment. So I'm giving you a quick run because there's another thing for Earth. Now imagine Earth millions of years ago had one axis. It didn't wobble, it was much bigger, and the original temperature was 22.2 degrees Celsius. 72 degrees roughly. Meaning this was a tropic paradise planet. This is what I'm getting with all the stuff that they spit out there. And I'm leaning on that frequency and that comes back. There was no wobble. There was no precession of the equinox going on. The time schedule that we have today is all based on an anomaly. That's my theory. Then when this axis is corrected, the magnetic levels are high. Of course giants walk the earth. And I'll tell you why I believe that is, and we have physical fact for that. So, they put fish in a tank, in a big aquarium in Munich. If I find that report, because these reports come and go, and I want to believe it. I cannot be a skeptic, but you have to, it's like forensics. I'm doing profiling, compiling, comparing data, looking at stuff. And there's nothing that gets you a Nobel Peace Prize. But at some point, I guess it will. So they put the fish, regular salmon, in a big aquarium. So the magnetic levels in that water is, according to Earth, crap. So it sounds weird, but bear with me. Because of the crappy low magnetic levels and the sunlight, also partially have distortions. I know the law of one says the minute the one split into two is the first level of distortion. I'm talking about levels of distortion. It's like there are divine distortions and there are the distortions that really like it's time's up now, really non-essential. So what they did, they put an inductive circuit in the tank and then increased the Gauss level to, let's pick a number. It's like the human is ready to take 4 to, like, let's say 34 without getting sick. Magnetic level, Gauss. So what they did here is, I just pick a number. Let's say here we have 100 Gauss. I'm assuming Earth was up to 2000 Gauss. Hence the dinosaurs, all of these giant creatures. Giants that were found, if they check the bones of human remains that where one hip bone is as tall as me, 6'2". If you check the DNA, you'll probably find they have more chromosomes. Bigger. Why more chromosomes? So here's the kicker. You increase the magnetic Gauss level. So what's not important is what the number is. The number could be 2000 for all I care. You increase the magnetic current in the water, yeah? And that's just me observing, okay? I'm not a sea biologist or whatever. But I have enough intelligence to observe, I believe. So, I feel. So what they did is they had these fish breeding under the intensified magnetic field. I'm not even talking photons yet. So the possibilities, oh my God, if you only knew. So after the fish had laid eggs in that field, totally different fish came. Bigger, more durable, a DNA unlike any other DNA they have seen on the planet, and it baffled them. And the fish looked like a fish that was extinct 1 million years ago. So we assume a couple of million years ago the magnetic field was rooftop, ionosphere, oxygen, much more oxygen on the planet than we have today. Now imagine increasing the magnetic field plus oxygen plus corrected sunlight. Superhuman abilities that lay dormant will come forth. Earth is going into this slowly as what we call the ascension process. So I was thinking, you know, this thing, and this is just a template. There's more science behind that. So I was thinking how the X-Men, like a training school to have an interdimensional decompression chamber, meaning to be in the body, to experience higher dimensional aspects of self. How do I do that? How do I get there? What's the trick? How do I seal you off? So I'm taking a tanning booth, EMF shielding that, putting reflector systems in that, so only your light gets reflected and refracted back and forth in here. Basically, this is what's going through you. Only your own life force, your own energy, your own ping. Meaning you have your own network ping coming from your heart. You have a mercabic field that can only structure itself when it hears itself. That's called the zero field. The zero field is kind of here, and then you have the Merkabic field, which is also divided in many different Merkabic layers. So understand, in the center, the 7 is you, and that's where the 0 field is. But how do you get the original frequency back into the human body? The King's Chamber was such a place where you would be retuned to get that back. And I know this video is probably going to be an hour. I'm trying to really compact it as fast as I can so you can follow how fantastic that this gets. When I'm able to transport that, I will transport it. But right now the thing is too heavy. I can't leave like 4 people to lift it. So reflecting you back, adjusting the magnetics in the bed. Okay? Using a Gauss level between 4 and 15 Gauss, because the more magnetics you put together, the more basically the energy goes up. And if you're a regular human being, basically you would be, if you're sick, your viral activity come up, you'd have diarrhea for a week, and it will be too taxing for your lymphatic and detox system. So we got to start slowly, introduce you to that energy as in the city of light, slower. Not talking about buildings built that way. So magnetics in the bed under you to a level that is acceptable. You know, companies like Nikon and all those, they make those magnets. You also have to know what magnets to use. All I'm saying is neodymium, nickel based, no. Unnatural, and the nickel creates an interference with your auric system, and you come out of this thing like this. I tested a face mask with that stuff, and you're just running around having spasms all day. Then I tried it with a different ceramic type, different frequency. We're good. So talking about people looking for rejuvenation, that's possible. So now we have the magnets in here. I'm talking one-sided. I haven't even doubled it up. Then I'm talking about the photonic substance that I have in my keys in here. So an increased highly photonic and ionic field, holy information which I choose as a sacred technology, sacred crop circles, biologically proven formations, hexagonal patterns of the divine structure of the flower of life. We have seen that, and Masaru Emoto has proven that crystals form when the water is phase conjugate. So look at this as a phase conjugate box. Phase conjugation means two polar opposite meet, and then the phase aligns, and I call this the Eye of Ra or the Eye of Horus, which is the pineal gland response to that field. That's why some people can see ships or see elves, or another story, the elven rings, elves dancing while, and people would disappear there. Highly photonic action, super magnetic alignment, like very, very magnetic, like nothing would work there. Also technology fries in there. You can't take a Walkman or anything electrical in there, it'll fritz. Anything that is not divine enough to meet that dimensional template will fry. We tried it, doesn't work. So this thing here is already the Ascension bed. I'm working on my first order. Person that doesn't need to be convinced, who can sense actually what I'm doing, is actually ordering this. I'm repainting this, and I'm basically, until I have custom made hulls, I'm using the shell of a tanning bed, and to all the electrical stuff will be removed. It will be gutted, just the shell and the technology that I'm putting together. So 9 different components that I have listed as an observation are in this thing. This is 9 layered, you can say a nine dimensional observation. I just put that out there. I have no scientific proof that it is so. This is just, I'm going by feeling. I have tested certain chambers and energy devices where people can't sit more than 5 minutes and they leave. Kozreyev has built a mirror with magnets, where people also have to know the magnetic field directly from the ground works through your feet, and it has a certain alignment taking place how your body picks that up. If you put magnets directly under your feet, you have a distortion wave that you don't want. That's why you put magnets at a distance. So your feet would be kind of here, and then when the distortion wave of that magnet stops and the divine wave picks up, That's where you are being charged and not discharged. So that distance has to be maintained in that bed. That has to be set in the ground. So after 2 or 3 inches, the first magnetic influx is hitting your body. So in dreams, basically, I'm sitting in a laboratory and I'm putting all of this together. Right now I'm building it. This year the first one will be built. This is the world's first Ascension bed that's being built that way. So the idea is also when we, I will explain in a minute what that does. So what I will do with this Ascension bed, turn this into an Ascension chamber, essentially have oxygen through a plastic pipe coming in, so you have higher oxygen levels, and we can mimic actually where the earth was millions of years ago. So bringing that time space back. This I want in a completely sealed, EMF shielded room. Of course air will flow through that. Then you have what you will call the Ascension chamber. That thing here will be the measurements of the Gizeh chamber, having the same measurements of the interior of the chamber, and the sarcophagus will be placed in the center. So that thing turned on, God knows what's possible. I'm already very excited because I know there's something to feel. I myself sleep on a magnetic bed and have partially stuff installed in my house where plants grow towards my bed. It's like really, really crazy. So life force is being really, really, really enhanced. And I wanted to share that with you, and soon I'll show a video. So also these ceramic plates here, and then the magnets will be laser engraved with sacred logos that I pick, where I've seen from different laboratories that I check online with their reports what is the blueprint of what's going on in the water. Main thing is what's happening with the water here, and how can we create an energy field that'll take you out of the time space of Earth for now. There is a wave pattern that makes you, and that's why we haven't figured out how to travel through stars, because we're thinking 3D. This has to do with consciousness and conscious transfer, kind of like Avatar. Electronics not required, nature is required. No electricity near, completely shielded, no 60 hertz hitting, no 33 megahertz standing solar power panel wave or cell towers hitting this. I'm completely taking you out of the loop. Even if people say they have implants or you become untrackable, anything electronic, untraceable, you literally electromagnetically, 3-dimensionally, off grid. Nobody can come here. And what you learn is to reflect on your own divinity to infinity, to recalibrate and bring yourself back. And that was just a rough of how I'm building it. I'll show it to you. You know, for one example, I can take a ceramic plate and I can take a crop circle, you know, and then see what happens when I attach that plate. I can put pictures of good food in here, or I could put apples in here. It's going to be also like a root cellar. So this is one side. We can also make that double-sided with the magnets, but we want to start slow so you don't get sick or you get scared. Seeing yourself in the future, everything is being reflected. There are multiple layers of reflective substance in there, also photonically layered. So really light doesn't really get out or escape. This all stays within the vessel. And this is going to be the Ascension bed. And that will be soon available in my store. Probably only custom made and advance payment, because that costs a couple of $1,000s just to get the material together, forklift, truck, crane to set stuff up. So to begin with, I'm building this right now. It took me 7 years to put the pieces together, and this is gonna be the ideal. Will be these pods will be sitting in retreats with samadhi tanks and recalibration equipment, where your cure will be basically you will receive a certain diet and you will go through these devices, and after 8 days your life has shifted, because I'm taking you out of an old dimension and bringing you back into this dimension. When you come back, it's seamless, but what will be different is your luck your skills of manifestation, your sight, third eye. So all of this what I have already, which is a starter package in my Jedi key, with my wearers already have. The jet, raising of the jet, is bringing that energy to the heart, so introducing you to that frequency. So the key ultimately is the precursor and the module that channel all through this outer space and time. And this doesn't require maintenance nor electricity, and the magnetic field, according to what we can produce, can last 1,000 years, and the photonic field can last 15,000 years. And then we will test, and then I will film the test run of, okay, so what's really happening in your ascension bed. So that is also, you can say, a conscious Stargate. So from what I believe is possible to what will happen, I can't really tell you that, but it's going to get fantastic from what I have. When I see 8 components spread over the planet, and I see partial things, I'm very good in assembly, refining, amplifying, and expanding. I'm very good at that. So let's see what happens when we put these pieces together. And then once we have customers buying that, I will turn this into like a little space pod with how do you say, light reflective deals that you have a display that is just light, no electricity, and you actually have fun and you invest in your health. And that's the future of the human race, is to get these energies corrected anyway, whether I build it or somebody else. So now I'm initiating this, everybody else get to work. There are different lab specifics that I only know, where I know the measurements create a resonance. So same thing with orgone, or whatever you want to call it, or organ, or whatever. Measure it, find results, send your stuff to Masaru Emoto's lab, see what comes back, and see that you have something physical. So I won't go out with this if there's not a physical reaction happening. So on that note, I see you most certainly on the flip side. Peace.